This might be a bit of a weird background, but hang on until I, teen female, explain. My parents were young when they had me. My mom had no family of her own, and from the age of 12, when she and my dad first met, my dad's family became hers too. My bio parents dated throughout high school and had me right after graduating. My mom died in her sleep when I was only 6 months old. She was 19. My dad was never interested in me, and he and my grandparents fought a lot from when I was born to when my mom died. They were disgusted with his lack of love or concern for me. They wanted him to be a better father than he was, and pointed out my mom was the same age and had stepped up, but he wasn't interested. After my mom died, my grandparents were terrified that my dad would mess me up, so they made a deal with him. They would get legal custody, raise me, and give him some money every month for him to do what he liked. I know it sounds strange, but they saw it as a way to keep him from me unless he was serious about being a dad. I never actually saw him at all when I was little. I saw him from a distance for the first time a couple of years ago. He had some woman with him. They later got married. I'd see them around but decided to keep my distance still. His wife knew about me before they even married. Now they're having a baby girl, and the wife told my aunt they wanted to name their baby Serenity, which is my name. She spoke to me about it because she wanted to warn me. The second I heard about this, I hated it. I saw so many issues because we'd have the exact same name. I have no middle name, and my aunt said that they had no plans to use a middle name either. Our last names would be the same too. Plus, it felt like sharing a name could be used by some people to push for me to be in the child's life. I asked my grandparents if they could convince him not to do it. They spoke to him, and he was saying he just wanted his wife to be happy. They told him he could forget about the money if he did it, since it would be messing me over. I think my grandparents also hated that he was sending a clear message that he never loved me by just using the name of the kid he wanted to raise. My dad ended up backing down. His wife was angry, and she blamed me, even though he said it was my grandparents who intervened. She said she knew I must have said I didn't like it, and whatever I did, I was a selfish little witch because I took away her chance to name her child what she wanted. She said Serenity was a name she chose when she was little and always wanted to use it. My grandparents came home while she was ranting at me and made her leave. My dad and his wife are no longer welcome at all. I can't get what she said out of my head, so I feel the need to ask, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You should be extremely glad your real parents had the foresight to see your bio dad as a total piece of crap. What a selfish idiot. Please don't take whatever his garbage second wife says to heart. It had nothing to do with you, but always had everything to do with him. He wanted to name his new daughter your same name as a do-over. I'm so sorry you're going through this. That is appalling behavior by your dad. He chooses not to be in your life and then chooses to start a new family, and to top it off, he decides to use the same name? Crazy. As a teen, you're already more mature than your father is now, and well beyond your father's wife. They're wrong for trying to steal your name. I don't buy the wife's story at all. The name is so unusual that it just makes no sense. She may have already thought that the name was pretty or something, but the only reason she's being this implacable about demanding that name is that she doesn't like that her husband has a daughter he dipped out on and sees this as an opportunity to erase her from existence. OP's deadbeat dad and his shrew of a wife sound like two idiots who totally deserve each other. But wow, OP, I'm so sorry you're stuck in this situation. Why are your grandparents still giving him money? It would be better to have a college fund for you. They felt it was better to continue until I was 18, but they are considering stopping. They were still able to save a college fund for me. I don't know how much is there yet. We are meant to discuss it soon, though, because they want to discuss some options with me. I had a good childhood. I grew up knowing I was loved, not just by the family who raised me, but by my mom as well. Knowing my family loved my bio mom and remembering her still made things a lot easier for me. They all looked out for me and made sure I was good. One of my female 24 friends, Anna, female 24, had a baby around 6 months back. Our friend group is otherwise childless. We all used to hang out a lot before the baby was born. The baby changed dynamics because Anna wanted to bring the baby everywhere with her, and it was a baby. We tried to plan things around the baby to include Anna, but it always ended up badly. We shouldn't drink because Anna can't drink. We shouldn't be loud because the baby needs to sleep. Icing on the cake, her baby's extremely fussy and constantly cries. It was just a downer for the rest of us, so we started hanging out without Anna and her baby. Last weekend, all of us went on a staycation. We had a great time and posted photos and videos on Instagram. Anna saw these and called me to ask why I didn't ask her to accompany me. I tried telling her it was a last-minute plan and we could only find a child-free resort to not hurt her feelings. She called my bluff, sending me pics some random family member had posted with kids at the resort. She kept forcing me, and I told her we didn't want to hang out with her baby. She asked how I can say that about her baby. I asked her to leave it at that, but she wouldn't. I finally told her it was a baby, and we're all young. We don't want to live our lives around a baby she chose to have. We got to do adult stuff and party all we wanted. Her baby's the only reason she wasn't invited. If she leaves the baby at home, she can come too. She got angry at me and called me an idiot. She also sent a text in the group chat saying she was disappointed in all of us for excluding her just because she was a mom. Half of our friend group thinks I should not have told her the real reason and is mad at me. The other half thinks she's unreasonable. Am I the idiot for telling her the truth? Edit. We asked her not to bring the baby many times. We had a dinner a few weeks ago. We told her about the date and time and asked if her boyfriend would be fine looking after the baby. She said he couldn't. He'd be tired, and it's no big deal bringing the baby. So she brought the baby. The baby cried the whole night. Everyone at the restaurant kept glaring, and we had to leave way earlier. She laughs it off whenever childcare is mentioned or launches into how her boyfriend works hard and deserves rest and how babysitters can't be trusted. Not the idiot. You're not excluding her because she's a mom. You're excluding her because she's making being a mom everyone else's problem. She won't leave the baby at home. The father won't step up. She expects you to cater to her needs. And it sounds like she doesn't remove the baby from the situation when it's fussy. Hence, you all have to deal with it. You have every right to want to be young and act like it. She must accept that having a baby has changed things for her, but that doesn't mean everyone else has to change everything to accommodate that. Anna's choices are her choices and her consequences. She has a child with an absent father, and her friends do not. It's not the baby's fault for being born, but no one needs to invite a baby into their friend group. Anna needs to find different friends who have children. This is the reality of children. It changes your relationships with the people around you. I, 43 female, am close friends with my neighbor, 42 female, and we both have kids that attend the same high school. We don't live far from the school, but it's not really walking distance. My neighbor has work early in the morning, and there's no one home when her son has to go to school. So I've always let him ride with me and my son. As for picking him up, my son has football practice directly after school, so I don't need to pick him up. However, my neighbor's son doesn't have any practices, so I find myself going to pick him up often. His dad can pick him up, but he also works a lot and goes on business trips almost every other week. So again, it's mostly just me. Earlier this week, my neighbor was off work and I asked her if she minded taking my son to school with hers since I had a work call that morning I had to take. She said no, which took me aback since I figured she'd just do it. I asked her why, and she said, "You're home, you can take him." I was speechless, so I took my son that day and she took hers. I called her later that day and told her I thought it was pretty rude that she couldn't take my son when I take hers every single day. She told me her son has no other option, while mine does. I told her she would show some appreciation for me, because if it weren't for me, her son would be walking 3 miles to and from school daily. She still kept repeating the same thing, that I'm home, so I can take my son, and I told her, if that's how she feels, I'm not taking her son anymore. She screamed at me, but I just hung up. I stuck to my words, and yesterday, I didn't take him to school, so he had to walk. He ended up being late, and my neighbor texted me an angry message about how I was ruining her son's attendance. My husband noticed the text and asked what it was about. I told him what happened, and he told me that although our neighbor was being a pain in the butt, I shouldn't just refuse to take her son because it wasn't his fault and it was too far to be walking. Now I don't know if I'm in the wrong or what to do. I feel like it's reasonable to not want to take him anymore since my neighbor doesn't value what I've done for him. Still, I also see my husband's point that it isn't her son's fault and 3 miles is a pretty long distance to walk. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but your neighbor sure is. It sounds like you've been a huge help, even going out of your way to pick him up when your own son didn't need a ride. Her feeling entitled instead of grateful says much about who she is. While I feel bad for the kid, it's his mother's fault for being unwilling to return the favor. Yeah, if that's what OP considers a close friend, I don't want to see her enemies. Your neighbor has no issue taking advantage of your generosity, letting her kid always get rides. She was petty and rude when you asked for a favor in reciprocation. She messed around and found out. Sucks that the kid has to walk, but that's also the consequence of his mom being an idiot. I'd probably talk to the dad, since he needs to be driving their kids now. I'm a Latina woman, married to a white man. We have a preteen daughter with curly hair. I love her hair, and she loves it too. Last weekend, I noticed she was upset and quiet. I asked what happened, and she didn't want to tell me. I insisted, and she started crying. She told me her father had made a joke about her hair. He said her hair looked like a rat's nest, and she should straighten it or cut it. He said that it was just a joke and that he loved her hair, but she shouldn't tell me about the joke. I was furious and confronted my husband. I started arguing with him and said he was being prejudiced and it hurt our daughter. He apologized and said he didn't mean to offend anyone. He said he was just trying to make a joke and didn't see any issue with her hair. He said I needed to stop dwelling on his mistake and that I was overreacting. I didn't accept his apologies and continued to argue with him. I told him he had no idea what curly hair meant to our daughter and our culture. I said he should respect it and not make such jokes. I said he was foolish for making our daughter feel bad and for making her hide the truth from me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. That he explicitly told your daughter not to tell you about his joke shows you he knows how wrong and hurtful it was. He can't just say things like that and claim, oh, it was just a joke, so you're not allowed to get mad. Clearly, his joke, regardless of his intention, was hurtful. Instead of sincerely apologizing to you and your daughter, he's treating it like you're being oversensitive and shrugging you off as ridiculous. He doesn't get to decide what does and doesn't hurt someone else. He started your daughter on a path she'll be forced to travel because of others' perception of what is acceptable and attractive. Especially today, when ethnic hair is forcibly altered illegally by strangers, like cutting, straightening, coloring, etc., because their hair doesn't meet certain standards deemed normal. It's especially problematic because this was at the hands of her loving father. It's life-altering. She'll remember this for the rest of her life. He has no clue what he started or the future repercussions, and asking her to keep it from you? Seriously troubling. OP, I know you're already rightfully upset about your husband's behavior. Still, I think it's essential to teach her that there's no keeping secrets from her parents, especially each other. A kid taught to keep secrets from their parents becomes very vulnerable to several kinds of severe abuse. There are lessons online about how to teach your kids not to keep secrets, but that planning surprises is okay, for example, because it can be dangerous. Your husband shouldn't be teaching your daughter to keep secrets from you. Context: I'm 31 with 2 young boys, a full-time 12-hour shift worker, and I'm in a full-time doctorate program. My husband is, therefore, the primary caregiver many nights when I'm working. We have full-time daycare during the day, and he works from home. The other night, we had a date night planned. We were going to go out to dinner, then had plans to go to a bonfire with friends. We got a sitter. I got all done up. Dinner started great, but hit a sour note when my husband commented that he was disappointed we weren't doing something more exciting. I took it to heart because I was excited about the night we'd planned, so I was moody and quiet. We were still in a tiff when we were heading home to change for the bonfire. When it came time to meet our friends, they said they were finishing dinner and having a drink or two at a nearby restaurant and asked us to join. My husband stated that he'd rather take the time to nap than meet us for the bonfire afterward. I did say I'd prefer he come with me, but he declined. So I went, had one drink, then returned to get him for the bonfire. He texted while I was out and said he'd thrown up, but still planned to go to the bonfire. I returned to pick him up and asked if he still felt up to going to the bonfire, and he said no. I asked if he wanted me to pick up the kids from the sitter early and get them to bed so we didn't have to while I was out with our friends. His response was, "I don't care. I don't really want to go get them." So I went to pick them up, brought them back, and got them to bed. He was still distant, so I left to follow through with the original plans. I was out for 2.5 hours and got home before midnight. I cared for the kids so he could attend a golf tournament with his 2 guy friends for 9 hours the following day. When he returned from golfing, he expressed frustration that I'd left him that night, stating that he'd never leave me when I was sick, and that the point of the night wasn't to go see friends, it was to spend time together. I explained that I worked nonstop, and getting out of the house, out of routine, and having time to laugh and joke with friends was important. I explained that I would have instead spent the time with him, but he never at the time indicated that he wanted the time together. He wasn't feeling great and just wanted to go to bed. I had texted him several positive and caring messages while I was out and got no response. He insists that no good wife would leave their sick husband to spend time with friends when the plan was to spend the night together, saying I ditched him. I said he should have expressed to me that the time together was important to him and not cold toward me, expecting me to abandon our plans and sit at home again, then cover for his golf outing with friends for 9 hours the following day. Not the idiot, but your husband sure is, for trying to turn the argument around on you. Why don't you point out how he ditched you for 9 hours of golfing with his friends, even though he felt bad the night before? That sure was a fast stomach bug. This is what I took away as well. He obviously recuperates quickly, though. He said no good wife would do what OP did. I've had my share of disagreements with my husband where we didn't appreciate each other's behaviors. Some of them pretty heated, but we would never ever call each other a bad wife or husband, which is what this guy's essentially saying. OP's husband is not just an idiot. He is, at the very least, emotionally abusive. He was only sick enough to ruin her fun, not his own. Bingo. Same crap my ex-husband used to do. OP, you didn't leave him high and dry, trying to care for the kids when ill, if he was in fact ill, which I sincerely doubt. You did all the parenting so he could wallow. To summarize, you had a few hours with friends. He had an entire day, and he's annoyed with you? He's a narcissistic manipulator who gaslights you. Run, girl, run! If not for yourself, then for your children. Be a good wife and get the heck out of there.